everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kayla and it's time to crack into a good book. So today's video is going to be the end of the year book tag, and I realize I think you're supposed to do this in October, November, something like that in the fall, but these things happen and I'm posting it in December, so yay. It's still before the end of the year and that still gives me a month to hopefully try to get some of this done, but we'll just go ahead and jump right in. This is pretty short, I think. So the first question is, are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? So, I'm currently reading books right now, so obviously I need to finish those, but I don't have any that I've been postponing for months or anything like that. I'm pretty good about finishing books. So the one that I'm currently reading right now is The Queen of the Tearling by Erika Johansen. So I'm doing a buddy read of this with Kat from Brews and Reviews. So this came out a while ago and I had always been kind of interested in it. I think I actually heard Kat talk about this on her channel and I was or this series, and I was like, okay, yeah, that does actually sound interesting. So I picked it up because I think she was talking about needing to read the second one, but needing to reread this one to remember what actually happened. But basically, we follow our princess who is ascending to her rightful place as the new Queen of the Tearling. She's surrounded by enemies, including an evil sorceress who has dark magic, and she doesn't really have much of a chance of success, but she happens to have some fearsome weapons of her own, including a sapphire, which is a jewel of immense power and magic. And we've got an epic war drawing near, and she's trying to save her kingdom and meet her destiny. So I haven't read today's chapters, but we're about 100 pages in this copy, and it's been pretty enjoyable so far. It's a little bit slow, and weirdly enough, I didn't know about this at all, but this seems to take place in our world because they mention New London, New Europe, and then there's definitely mentions of Americans and British, so that was a little bit of a surprise to me. I was like, oh, well, I thought that this was it is a high fantasy series, but I thought it was in its own little world, and I'm kind of still curious about what's going on there. But it's been good so far. There's some elements that I'm I don't really know what's going on here. At the beginning, there's a lot of secrets that people are keeping, and I'm well, how do you expect her to succeed if you're not telling her the information she needs? So presumably we'll learn more about it. But by the time I post this video, I probably will have finished this already. So this video will be a little dated. The next question is, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? So, obviously, again, posting this in December, that's kind of not the most relevant question, but I feel this could still count. And the book I chose for this is Blood of Empire by McClellan. So this is the third book in this Gods of Blood and Powder trilogy, which is the second trilogy after the Powder Mage trilogy. This is a flintlock fantasy series, and we have different types of magic. Basically you have the gunpowder mages who can snort gunpowder and have enhanced reflexes and guide the trajectory of bullets. You have more elemental magic. There's some blood magic situation going on here. So basically here, see what I can tell you without spoiling anything. There's these godstones that are rather powerful, and everybody is trying to, get a hold of them. So basically some characters are trying to do whatever they can to prevent groups in any way possible from using this godstone. So we have an invasion of a country, but a storm has scattered the fleet and they're, forced to rely on brains rather than brawn. And we've got another character invading at the head of an army, seeking vengeance on those who have conspired against her. I think high fantasy is really good to read in fall and winter, and for some reason, I don't know why, I don't know if the first, if the Powder Mage trilogy initially came out in the fall, but for some reason I feel I associate this, I think this one came out December of last year and I haven't read it yet. No, I'm gonna love it. I've really enjoyed the series, and I think this second trilogy has been more enjoyable for me than the first trilogy, but all of them, they're all worthwhile, but definitely want to see how this concludes. The next question is there a new release you're still waiting for? And I literally just finished filming my December releases video, so I'll talk about one of the books I mentioned there, and that's The Queen's Triumph by Jessie, and that's the third book in this Rogue Queen series, and it's a sci-fi romance. Basically we have an elected queen of all these rogues and pirates and stuff, and she's pretty badass. In this one she's agreed to meet with this commander because that's the fastest way to reach the Confederacy's biggest traitor and her sworn enemy. And this guy had attacked her home and destroyed her ship, and so she needs to preserve the peace between the Empire and this Confederacy. So basically, like, we'll just leave it at that because I literally just talked about this. So, yeah, I'm definitely really excited about this. She had released it as like a serial novella or whatever over the course of the year, but I have been waiting to read it until I can read it all at once. So, you know, that time is finally coming. So I'm definitely excited to get through this. I really love Jessie Mihalik's writing. I think she has really fantastic female main characters. You know, the romance is usually something that like I really believe in. There's a lot of fun technology, and it's just like a really great sci-fi world. So I'm definitely excited for this one. The next question is, what are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? So I have a lot of books that I need to read before the end of the year, but, you know, here's a sampling. The first one is The Bone Chips by R.J. Barker. So I think my parents got me this for my birthday last year, and I haven't read it yet. That's my bad. So I do really want to read it before the end of the year, because otherwise I'll start to feel guilty. But basically we have, for generations, the fleets of the 100 Isles have built their ships from the bones of dragons to fight this endless war. The dragons disappeared, but the battles for supremacy kept going. But then, you know, for the first dragon in centuries has been spotted, and everybody's like racing to control the dragon because they will win not only glory but the war. So I think the second book just came out or is about to come out. I'm not exactly sure, but I've heard really great things about this series, and it's something that I really want to try. I wanted to read it during the summer because I feel like this more, you know, the ocean setting or whatever is better for me to read in the summer. But I think, you know, hopefully this will still be a good one for me to read right now. It is high fantasy, so like I was saying earlier, I think that definitely fits this like fall and winter time. I like this whole use of the dragons or use of dragon bones to build these ships. And I'm very curious to see what's going on there. So yeah, definitely want to get to this. The next one I'll talk about is Seven Devils by Laura Lamb and Elizabeth May. So I do want to read this before the end of the year because we've chosen this as the Space Sirens book club choice to read in December and talk about in January. So this is a sci-fi book, and it's kind of like a Rogue One type story where you have like a whole bunch of characters trying to rebel against the Empire. So basically, the heir to the Empire has rebelled and faked her death, and she's been recruited by the Resistance and has been assigned to infiltrate a spaceship carrying deadly cargo and return the intelligence she gathers to the Resistance. Her partner bears an old grudge against her, so things get a little complicated. And then I guess once they get onto the ship, they find 3 fugitives with first-hand knowledge of the Empire's inner workings. So they're trying to bring, you know, the corrupt regime to its knees, but the new heir to the Empire plans to disrupt a peace summit with the only remaining alien civilization to ensure the Empire's expansion. So I've heard that this is pretty enjoyable, and I've been wanting to read it. There's certainly LGBTQ plus representation from what I remember. I think there's some other stuff going on here that I can't remember off the top of my head in terms of representation, but it seems like a really fun mixture of, you know, people, and this definitely reminds me of Star Wars, which of course I love. And then the last book I'll talk about for this question is The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. So yes, feel free to shame me that I still haven't read it yet. I don't know what I've been doing. I don't know if it's like one of those things where I don't want the series to end, so I've been like procrastinating on reading it or what. But it's also like fairly large, and I don't know. I don't know if like I've had the attention span for large chunky fantasy books. I finished Rhythm of War over the weekend, and I feel like I'm now in the mood for giant chunky fantasy books, so this is like a good time for me to jump into this. But basically, this is a desert fantasy series, and basically we have some characters trying to repair their fraying alliance and stabilize a fractious warring people. We have characters who need to face some ugly truths about their history. Some characters face some difficult choices. They're kind of looking back on the city and realizing people who considered them saviors are at the mercy of a new tyrant, and, you know, they want to save their families. In order to remake the world, they may need to fight those they once loved and take a stand for those they once hurt. So I know I'm gonna love this. I just need to actually read it. I've really enjoyed this series, so I just like really want to get to this soon. The next question is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? So, I mean, that's going to be real hard to become a favorite of the year. There's like a lot of really great 5-star books that I've read. The books that I literally just mentioned, like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to love those and rate those 5 stars, so I don't think that those are necessarily like shocking that they would become favorites. So I guess for this, I'm going to go with The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart, because I have not read, I think this is Andrea Stewart's debut book, and I haven't read it yet, but obviously I guess that could be shocking because I don't really know what to expect from this author, but I've heard really great things about this book. And basically, you know, it's a high fantasy, we've got an empire with bone shard magic, and the heir to the emperor will have to fight to reclaim her magic and her place on the throne. So there's this bone shard magic allows for monstrous constructs to maintain law and order, but I guess the emperor's rule is faltering and revolution is sweeping across the lands. So the daughter of the emperor is not his heir, and I guess her childhood memories have been erased by a mysterious illness. She's going to have to master bone shard magic in order to reclaim her birthright. So that sounds really awesome, and again, like basically every single review I've heard from friends have been very positive, and so I think I'm gonna love this. And the last question is, have you already started making reading plans for 2021? And this, I mean, like, I don't have strict like TBRs or anything like that in general, so this is kind of like, I don't know. I mean, like, my reading plans are literally just to read the books that I have. I need to decrease my TBR pile a bit in general, and, you know, maybe kind of like restrict myself from buying as many books until I kind of, you know, get things under control a little bit. But yeah, I guess in terms of series that I want to start the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne. And of course, like, I may still try to fit this in December, so we'll see. I guess other reading plans, you know, I'm sure we're going to continue the Space Sirens Book Club, which has been a lot of fun, so, you know, just continuing to read and discuss whatever books we choose for that. There's a whole bunch of series that I need to finish, and I just kind of, like, generally want to, like, get some series done and then, like, continue to make my way through some, you know, like, I've been slowly making my way through the Slight Changeling series and the Chicagoland Vampire series, and, you know, those are, at least Chicagoland Vampires I think is finished, so I want to, you know, actually finish that as well. But yeah, I mean, it's just like mostly I want to read the books that I have, which is like not a super helpful answer to this question. I feel like a lot of people do reading projects and stuff, so maybe I'll try to come up with something fun for myself. I guess with that, let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books or think you might pick them up. And for your question of the day, are there any books that you want to get to before the end of the year, which is rapidly approaching somehow. Time has been so weird this year, and I don't know where the time has gone. But anyway, I do have a Discord channel, and if you want to join that, the link is in the description below. I hope you're all having an excellent day and are reading something awesome. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up. That would certainly help me out. But with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up here and see you in the next one.